hit record and then we're just going.
Okay, very nice.
So I don't even really have like a set thing. Like, I don't know, because I feel like the whole thing, people don't necessarily watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like to do this, really get clips and stuff like that.
Okay.
Kind of once I get the headphones on.
Oh,
It's so
wow.
weird. Yeah, hearing your own voice. I haven't done this in a while, so it's like, oh wow, that's weird. You can hear like every breath and things.
Seriously.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, for ours we don't have the headphones.
Okay.
I've always watched podcasts and wondered, what that experience is like, and here we go.
It takes some getting used to. Yeah, I find like if you talk like directly into it, you like really hear your voice versus like if you're kind of off to the side, you don't hear it as much.
Right.
So it's like an interesting little mix of things. But the only intro I do is like, welcome back to the Real Talk podcast. Today we have Jake Pinc.
Pinc. Common misconception.
Yeah, I butcher a lot of last names. But we have him on. He's with Wolf
River
Electric.
Electric.
My God. He helped grow the company from what you were employee 6, I believe.
I think I was about the 8th employee.
Okay, employee 8 all the way up to where are you guys at now?
We got with sales reps nationwide about 300.
Yeah, that's
and
wild.
growing. Yeah.
So we kind of talked about this earlier, but what was your role in that expansion?
Well, so I first started as just an infield electrician. I went to elementary school, funny enough, with one of the owners of the company. He was a couple years older than me. But I was out of school and I was looking for a job and something to do. I was working for a moving company. My least favorite job I've ever had.
Yeah.
So I was ready to, do something different, build a career somewhere, just do something. I liked working with my hands. My whole life I've always worked with my hands. And then actually one of my buddies from high school posted on his Snapchat story looking for electricians, $17 an hour or something. I was like, well, do I need to go to school? He's like, nope, you can just come on in. Contacted Justin, one of the owners. He called me within 5 minutes. He said, yeah, you got the job, man. You want to come meet me at Walmart at 11 o'clock? I was like, sure. Nothing like going to Walmart at 11 p.m. for your very first day. Met them out at Walmart in Blaine, right down the road from here, actually. And at the time, they're doing retrofitting lights. So you got to do all those lights when the store's closed and people aren't in there.
Okay.
Met them at 11 o'clock, and the rest is history, Worked in the field for another 2 years, year and a half, something like that. Worked directly with one of the other owners, Luka Bozic. We slowly crept into solar from lighting. And then solar just took over. I mean, that's been the bread and butter since, and it's crazy.
So how many owners are there?
There's 3 owners in total.
Okay.
So Justin Nielsen, Luka Bozic, and Vladimir Marchenko.
Okay.
Those are the 3 owners, and they were friends in high school.
Okay, so it sounds like they're all younger though, right? Because
They
how old
are.
are you?
Yeah, so I'm 26. I think they all just turned 29.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. But very, very driven, hardworking guys.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic people to look up to and, abide by and learn from. So it's been quite the experience.
Yeah, I like seeing kind of young people do cool things like that. Like I got my real estate license when I was 19, and like we have a lot of younger people on our team. Like I'm 22, almost 23. We have someone who's 23, a 21-year-old, a couple 20-year-olds. So it's just kind of fun to see like people kind of starting to do stuff like that when they're not like, like the average realtor's age is like 55 or 50 or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of more, I mean, a lot of people have their license, but it's like a lot of like, I'll just sell to friends and family.
Right.
Like I think last year, like 49% of realtors sold 1 or less houses.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe that, actually, especially in today's economy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of been kind of tough the last couple of years, but.
Yeah. I mean, when kind of things have been changing, though, like this year, it's been like a lot more people are ready to go. Like start of the year, kind of like in the last, I did a lot of open houses this weekend, and out of like maybe 15 people I talked to, I think 11 or 12 of them are like, yeah, we started looking in the last like 2-3 weeks.
Really? Are those primarily people that already own property or first-time home buyers?
So was a house list at like 340, so like a lot of them were first-time home buyers.
Okay.
If I was at a different price point, that may have changed. Like if I'm at a $600,000 house,
Right.
then typically not a first-time home buyer house.
Yeah. I just had 2 buddies buy their first home as well, and it was about, I think they both said it was about 340 or 340 to just under 370 or something like that, which is a money good price point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the realty, I haven't gotten too much into looking my own for my own place yet. It's just, I'm young. I've been traveling.
Yeah. Well, work probably keeps you pretty busy too.
Work's busy as hell. So yeah, 50 or so hours a week there, and then I like to have fun too on the weekend. So I gotta learn to save a little more, but
Yeah.
we're young. We got plenty of time.
So kind of what's your like outlet? Like you work 50 to 60 hours a week. Is that 7 days a week or kind of what does your week look like?
So Monday through Friday, I don't work on the weekends. I'll take calls and stuff on the weekends, but I don't come into the office on the weekends. So Monday through Friday, I go into the office roughly 7 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m., something like that. And the main headquarters is actually in Isani, and I live in Shoreview.
Okay.
So minimum
Bit of a drive.
35, 40-minute drives. But I don't mind the drive as much. I go against traffic both ways, so that's beautiful too.
Yeah.
But it's a good time to get your head right, drink your coffee, listen to some music or a podcast, and get ready for the day. But yeah, I go into the office 5 days a week. I've never worked remotely. We're sound believers in people that work in the office. You build better connections with. You're more productive in the office. That's 100% true. I mean, that's something I come to realize. I hate to accept that because working from home is super nice.
Yeah.
But working from home, you're just not as productive. I mean, you'll just roll right out of bed, right to the laptop. At least when you got to go in, you lose an hour of sleep. At least you're showered, ready to go, getting up and active. So I don't mind it at all. I've never cared to work from home very much.
Well, you probably do it like here and there, kind of.
No, honestly, I never do. The only time I work from home is if I'm extremely ill, or if there's like something going on in my house I got to be there for, like an inspection or they're fixing the fridge or the heat or something like that. So very seldom do I work from home. Yeah, it's just not something I like to do.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of driving. That's probably, you said 35 minutes each day?
Yeah, it's about hour 15, hour 20 minutes each day driving, and then I try to go to the gym, 4 or 5 days a week. So that adds on another 15, 20 minutes. So I mean, most of the time I'm not getting home until 8:30.
It's a long day. What gym do you go to?
Lifetime Fitness.
Okay.
Lifetime Fitness right in Coon Rapids, which I think is one of the oldest ones in the country. That's what I've heard.
Really? Huh.
That's what I've heard. But I love it. That sauna and steam room saved me. That's why I go. It's the only reason. It's not like the weights are any better or anything like that. But they got the sauna and the steam room. Live for that. I feel like it's just makes me feel like a new man every time I leave the place.
Just like all your muscles get relaxed, or kind of like what's the benefit you get?
Yeah, it definitely seems like a relaxing mechanism for sure. I just know that, through listening to podcasts and doing some research on my own, that's really good for the cardiovascular system too, which I'm not going to say I'm a hypochondriac, but I do think about that stuff. I want the longevity of life, so I'll use that, and really I like knowing that there's benefits to it, So whether I truly feel it or not, I know that, it's good for the body, good for the heart, good for all that stuff.
Yeah, I haven't really done that. I in high school I do like a lot of ice baths and stuff like that, just because I just would be so sore, like my shins would be beaten up and stuff from track, and it's like, all right, I'll just fill the tub up with ice and go sit in there for 10, 15 minutes, and now like that was kind of before it was like cool. Now like everyone's doing it, it's kind of interesting, but I haven't really done sauna stuff. Like, I think it would be interesting, though, to do ice bath, sauna.
That's what people are doing, too, which is, I want to do the ice baths, but you can't do everything,
Yeah.
You can't do everything, and they don't offer that at Lifetime, nor should they. That'd be a pretty nasty thing to be sharing with everybody, but I know that there's extreme benefits to that, too. I mean, what I've heard is just the extreme temperature differences are what keeps the body going survival mode. It starts pumping the blood differently, faster. I'm no scientist, but it's just stuff I picked up, and I know that it's good for you. And there's people doing the ice baths that absolutely live by it, and apparently it gives you a bunch of energy too.
Oh yeah.
So
like once you get out, you're like, oh wow.
Yeah, it's like 3 minutes long in it. So if you can endure that, but. Yeah, I'm not gonna get a tub in my backyard, smash the ice every morning. No, I don't have that in me. Maybe one day.
Just throw buckets of ice in there.
Yeah,
buy a couple bags of ice.
I don't even have a bathtub actually.
Oh really?
So I'm counting the ice baths out for now. But one day we'll get to those.
Yeah, I think they have like little blow up ones that aren't horrendously expensive, but I could be wrong.
I have seen those actually. Okay. Those pop up on my Instagram feed all the time, and they have actually the same thing for saunas now. You can put like a little tarped up sauna in your garage, and apparently it works just as well. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But hey, people are doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of the like, I don't know. I think it'd be kind of nice to have certain things at home, but that's also kind of like the whole working from home thing too. Like you
Right.
just don't get a certain. There's something about like kind of getting up and leaving the house to go to the gym that's like kind of that wakes you up more. I feel like if it was at home, you maybe don't get that effect as much. But I think it'd also be very nice just to like wake up and just walk downstairs to the gym as opposed to like, oh, I gotta drive, I gotta
Right.
do this, gotta do that.
Especially if it's like a snow day or something like
Yeah.
that, or you're not feeling that well. But no, I've had a couple of buddies. One of them growing up, he had a sauna in his house, which is super beneficial. And he lives by when I'm older, I will have a sauna in my house. And then I have another buddy that his parents just moved up north to a cabin full time, and he goes up there all the time. Him and his dad built a sauna out there too, completely. So I've used that when I go up there.
Yeah.
And his gets much hotter than the ones that they regulate at the fitness centers. He can
Isn't
get
that
up
dangerous,
his of
though?
like
You know, like pass
180.
out.
Don't do it alone. Don't do it drunk. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously the higher temperature, the less amount of time you got to spend within there. But for a lot of people, like it much hotter. Like I think at Lifetime Fitness, they do it at 160, 165. And a lot of people like it at 180, 190, which is extremely hot. But
Yeah, that seems like so much.
yeah,
So do you just sit in there until like you're like, all right, I can't take it anymore, or is there like a specific thing you're waiting for?
I set the timer for 16 minutes every time. So I heard the money mark is 16 to 20 minutes. I get a little antsy in there
Yeah.
towards the end, so I do 16 minutes. But then I also go do the steam room after. But I know people that have sat there in there for 30 minutes at Lifetime. They go out, take a 5-minute break, sit, relax a little bit, and they go back in for another 30 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know that that's me.
Yeah, I don't know if that's me. That's a lot of time dedicated to sitting and sweating. But if you have the time, why not, you know?
Yeah, I'm a sweaty person. Honestly, like lifting weights does it for me.
Yeah, but just, you know, as long as you're doing something, that's
Yeah.
the main thing. You know, lifting weights is just fine. I know a lot of people that go and lift weights and do the cardio running and then don't go into the sauna at all, you know? So, I mean, to each their own, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. If you're doing something active, you're doing something active. That's
So-
all that really matters.
Do you do both then?
I do both.
Okay.
I do both, yeah. So typically I'll spend 40 minutes to an hour working out, and then I'll spend, you know, another 30 minutes with the sauna and the steam room.
So what's your like gym routine? Do you kind of have like a set one, or is it just like, eh?
I try to keep it mundane and I try to keep it consistent, but I'll go on tears where I'll go, you know, 2-3 months strong, 3 to 5 days a week, which feels fantastic. But then I'll go, you know, 3-4 months without even going once. Like in the summertime when everything gets so busy with weddings and, you know, bachelor parties, whatever it is. I mean, the summer you got nice weather, people like to golf, and just you don't always want you want to do stuff when it's nice out. So in those times I'll lose my footing a little bit in the world of fitness. But
Yeah. But that's almost like the best time to be in the gym more, because then it's like when you're at the beach, you're like, oh,
yeah.
you know.
I agree. And then all the beer in the summer puts on a couple pounds
Yeah.
too, but whatever. I'm not too crazy about my physique. I don't care too much about that. But enough to go. I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, did you play like sports in high school, college at all? Or did you go to college?
I did go to college. So yeah, growing up I played football, basketball, baseball. So big sports family. I got 6 or 8 people in my family in total, and we all played 3 sports. But then after freshman year of high school, I quit basketball just because it was my least favorite. And then I just continued on with the football and baseball in high school. But then sports career stopped after high school. Went to the university. I went to Iowa State actually first.
Okay.
And then after a semester there, great school, great semester, I just wanted to be home. Transferred to University of Minnesota and went there for business.
Okay.
Yeah.
So business, but then you got a job as an electrician. But
Yeah.
like kind of do more business stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, at this point, I'm in the office. I've been in the office for 2.5 years now. So I'm not in the field at all. I'm not, but I do manage all the guys that are in the field. But to help come up with, you know, good ideas for efficiency and new platforms and new ways to get things done. Plus, just, you know, with the business growing, you come across all these new connections that you gotta uphold and impress and, you know, influence and make better. So I don't truly think, though, any of the education I got within business has helped that. It's more street skills and just being personable, having good characteristics. That has helped the most.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, like I didn't go to college. Like I went to 1 year school, and I was like, I don't know that this is it. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, I tried a couple different things, but then I'm like, I think I want to get my real estate license and just kind of do that and just kind of like figure it out.
Right.
Because I feel like 4 years of being in real estate, like if you can figure that out, you're probably in a lot of cases better off than if you went to college for 4 years.
Right.
But each of their own.
I'm indifferent on college. I think it's weird you got to spend a full year going over stuff that you just spent
Yeah.
4 years doing in high school. I think that's a little weird. I think it's incredibly expensive.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's a norm that people feel forced into. And I think it's slowly being backtracked, and people are starting to see that you don't necessarily need that doctorate or that piece of paper to get a job.
Yeah.
What you do need, though, is to be personable. That's like the biggest piece of advice I can give. You got to be personable. You got to be, look at people in their eyes, shaking their hand. A good speaker, have a good vocabulary. I used to have a much better vocabulary, and I stopped reading books as much. So it's kind of dimmed down a little bit. But, just being somebody that can wow someone by a simple conversation. And people are capable of doing that. I think that's the most impressive thing to people hiring nowadays. Because so many people are locked into the technology, you know, that the connection of person to person is kind of losing its feeling. So I think if you, especially with the older generation, if you got somebody older talking to you, you gotta impress them with how you communicate. I think that's the most important thing, honestly.
So speaking of older people, like you said 29, right? Or
26.
26. So or the owners are 29.
Yeah.
So I would assume you've probably trained tons of people that are older than you, right?
Yes.
So how is that kind of dynamic? Because I know like sometimes when I'm working with people, like it can be an interesting dynamic when it's like I'm 22 and you're 45.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't necessarily train them in. Most of our office staff are pretty young guys too. But I do manage a lot of people that are older than me. And it's funny because when I was first starting to do it, I would meet the people face to face. So a lot of it's over phone calls and stuff like that. Now I know all of the field staff. We got about 120 people in the field. I do know them all for the most part. But when I first meet somebody, they're like, damn, I thought that you were like 35 years old, or like 40 years old. So I think it does impress them to some degree that I am extremely young. But that I haven't come across that too much. I haven't gotten much of backlash because of my age, which is surprising to me too, because I used to be a little more timid with how I spoke to the older guys, which I still am. I mean, they deserve their respect, but when you got to come down on somebody in a way, whether it's harshly or not harshly, you don't want to come off as arrogant, and I don't know. It is a little bit of a weird dynamic, but
Yeah, I kind of notice that too at times. I think it comes down to like what you know more so than like how old you are.
right.
And I think like people associate age with how much you know.
Yeah.
Because like you can be, doing something from 18 to 26 and have 8 years of experience, and that could be a lot more than like certain people have in that area. They
Right.
just like don't necessarily expect it.
Right.
Or like 8 years of super concentrated effort is worth a lot more than like 30 years of just going through the motions.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that too. 100%. I mean, you can be fantastic at something from an extremely young age. You don't necessarily need to be older. I mean, I guess to say if you're older, you're wiser. I believe that, but I think that's more of a well-rounded wiser, in the grand
Yeah.
scope of earth and experience and being. But when it comes down to like a fine trade or how to manage or the electrical community stuff, whatever it is, it however hard you want to push yourself and teach yourself outside of the job, you can be an expert at something at whatever pace you want to be,
Yeah.
so.
When you're younger, you might not be as well rounded.
Right.
If you really go down that path, but like as you're older, like you said, you kind of get little nuggets from kind of all different areas.
Right.
And I kind of noticed that too versus like 22, almost 23 versus 19. Like I have more just outside of real estate experiences that I can kind of push into the career. But I guess I didn't feel like that ever like stopped me, I guess.
Yeah. And with what I do, I mean, I work hand in hand with all the journeymen out there, which to become a journeyman in the electrical field, you got to get 4 years worth of hours basically, and then you take a test. So you start off as an apprentice. You're an apprentice for 4 years basically. You got to get 4,000 hours or something on job site experience in all these different fields and categories. Once you get all those hours tallied up and reported to the state will say, okay, you're ready for your journeyman's test. And that's one of the biggest things in the careers of people in the electrical field. Once you get your journeyman's, that pay raise goes way up. Like in Minnesota, You know, our salary for journeyman is extremely high, or hourly is extremely high compared to other states. So right now we're paying our journeymen right when they get that pass on the test, they're getting $50 an hour or more.
Where were
You
they
know,
at before? Probably.
most of the time sub 30.
Wow.
Yeah, so it changes their life.
So they're gonna make another 40, 50 grand a year or so from that.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. So all these apprentices that we have are, you know, some of them we've seen since the day one of their jobs, and they're now passing their journeyman's test, and now they're journeymen for us, which is awesome to see. And it changes their life. I mean, their income basically doubles. So then you become a journeyman once you pass the test. The test is not easy. The state has made it easier over time. It's easier now than ever, but still a very hard test to pass. So we put our guys through, you know, classes, tutors. We give them study resources like code test books or like fake tests that replicate what the actual test is. So we do our best to get our guys to get to that threshold because we want them to get there.
Yeah.
You know, not only is it good for them, but it's good for our company too. You know, we got guys that we trust for the last 4 years now becoming journeymen who are incredibly important with what we're doing, obviously.
So for you guys, what's the difference between an apprentice and a journeyman?
So, oops, sorry.
I was like, what was that?
Yeah, I'm knocking over stuff. The difference is the journeymen are the foreman of the site. You cannot have apprentices working on electrical equipment without the journeyman being there. And if you do, you're going to get a major fine from the state. You can't do it. It's a big no. Because electricity and working in this field, it is dangerous. I mean, you're working with electricity, it can kill you, you know? And you need to have the journeyman on site. So with one single journeyman, you can have 2 apprentices working underneath them. If you have 3 apprentices on the same job site with only 1 journeyman, you're out of ratio, you're over ratio. It's another way to get a fine, another way to get in trouble.
So as you guys grow, you really need those journeymen to kind of bring in more apprentices to kind of handle all the all the jobs you have. Okay.
Yep. So it took us a long time to get to the roster of guys that we have now. We have the best roster of guys in the Midwest, and I stand by that, you know. But it takes a lot to get there. Yeah. You know, you find one good journeyman, and then you'll find a couple guys that don't treat you as well or don't care about the company, and we went through that for years. And now we have a roster of journeymen that are all fantastic, respectable, professional, and just damn good at what they do. And it's awesome to see it. It was quite the journey to get there. Yeah. But for the journeyman, you can have 2 guys working underneath you only. And then for our apprentices, you know, we do offer some sort of leadership role to our apprentices. And that role that we offer to them is for the best apprentices that we have, and we call it the roof lead position, the roof lead. And what that is they're basically in charge of everything going on the roof. So they guide people on how to get it all done, but they're the ones putting up the solar panels and the racking and the J boxes up there and going through the attic and running everything. They play an absolute pivotal role. It's incredibly important, and those are the guys the apprentices we pay the most. Because they get their own van, which is awesome. There's almost no other electrical contractor out there that will give their apprentices a work vehicle, but we do. We give them a gas card. Gas is fully paid for them, and then they get the higher pay wage as well. So we do offer a leadership role, and our roof leads are, like I said, best roster. We got the best roster of roof leads too. They're fantastic guys.
So kind of from this, what I hear from you is like, take care of your employees very well, give them a lot of benefits, and then that's going to lead to more production and like growth.
Yes. You know, you are nothing. No company is anything without their employees. It's like the number 1 rule of business. You know, you got to make sure your employees are happy or you don't have a company anymore, right? So it was incredibly important for us to come up with a way to hold on to guys, make sure that respect is seen both ways, and, you know, offer pay that is, you know, equivalent or more than what the rest of the state is doing. So I think we do have major incentives at Wolf River Electric for people to come through, spend time, stay there, because withholding guys in the trades is extremely hard too. The overturn rate is high. You hire a guy, he doesn't want to go on the roof anymore. He had one slip maybe where he's like, okay, this is not for me. And working on roofs is not for everybody. That's why the turnover rate's so high with our apprentices. But our roof leads, we've had them all for a long time, and that's another core group of guys that we need, because constantly training guys in is a lot of money, extremely hard. Jobs go slower. It's not ideal. So our we have the best roster of our roof leads too, and we're holding on to them, and we hope that they're happy, and we're trying to do everything we can to keep that happiness. So
I think that's interesting because like at times like you see certain businesses where they try to like kind of penny pinch in certain areas, but like that's an area where I feel like you get a huge return because like you said, it's so expensive to have to keep retraining people that if you spend more money on your employees and they want to work there, one, you probably get better quality employees, like you probably have just more applications and can pick through like the people you want better, but then you're just not losing all that money to like retraining. And it's at least a tangible, like you would rather have all your workers have a van as opposed to have to hire more people and train them.
Right. Well, and that's another thing. I mean, everything's so expensive nowadays. Just the incentive of them getting a gas card in a vehicle to commute to work is massive. But I will say Wolf River Electric does pay their journeymen and our apprentices the most in the state. And we got to have the highest paid journeymen and apprentices in the state. And that doesn't go for necessarily everyone. We're a non-union. We're a private company. So we don't have to necessarily abide by the wage scale that the union does. So that's another good incentive too, is, if you're kicking ass and doing great work and, showing love and we're showing love back, we will do it, and that's why we are able to pay some of our guys, more than union companies.
So is there a reason that you guys are non-union?
Yeah, I mean, unions mandated by the state. So Justin, Luca, and Vlad, they created this company from the ground up, so there's private contractors all over the place. But we would never want to go union. You lose all your control doing that, so we like to stay private. Now the union, which is weird, this is probably something that a lot of people don't know and that I didn't know either going into it. But the union actually are legally allowed to send in salts. They're called salts or salters. And that's where a union member gets paid to infiltrate a private company. And what they do is they'll come in, hire in as if they're just a new guy on the block. It can be a journeyman. It can be an apprentice. No, it'll be a journeyman. It'll be a journeyman. And what they can do is they can bring these ballots in for guys to sign saying, yes, I want this company to go union for this reason. And they put their name down. And if they swing, I think 50% of the employees, your shop goes from private to union. It's a pretty crazy concept, and the state completely backs up the union worker and not the private company. I mean, the laws that regulate what the union can and can't do, it's crazy, man. That's stemmed all the way back from the good old days with the mafia, and they don't change much.
Espionage. That's like spy work.
It is. I mean, it's crazy, and they don't have to tell you, and you can't ask. So as the employer, if you know that you have assault within your company, you can't ask that guy.
Can you fire him?
Are you assault? You cannot just fire him.
So you have to wait for them to mess up.
You wait for them to mess up, leave on their own. I don't even like talking about it just because there's so many legal bindings to it, and we thoroughly use our lawyers when it comes to situations like that. But we've experienced that many, many times, more so in the past couple years than now. But we were taking a lot of work from the union. We, as a private company, were taking major government jobs. A lot of solar, has come to us, and people were choosing us over the union, which meant that a lot of union workers were sitting on the bench, not working, and they don't like that. They want those jobs that we're taking. So that's when they kind of start infiltrating with assault. So it's a good thing. I mean, it means you're doing something right.
Yeah.
But it's a terrible thing to deal with. It's not ideal.
But I feel like as your company grows, that probably is less and less of an issue in a sense, because like with 300 employees, they have to swing 151 people.
Yeah, not technically, because a lot of, I'd say 100 of those 300 are sales reps. They don't have anything to do with actual infield. So, and I think it's 1099 employees. Like they're not, it's weird. I don't have all the verbiage for it. But it's for the infield guys, the people with the cards that say I'm a journeyman, I'm an apprentice. Those are the people that they have to swing. So,
Okay.
I mean, for our shop, I think we're at about 120, something like that. Guys constantly working in the field in Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and now we actually just signed on for North and South Dakota too. So we're fully functional in 5 states now.
So could a SALT come in, say if you have 80 in Minnesota, if they get 41 of those to vote for a union, how does that work? Or is it like company wide?
I don't know the boundaries of the
Okay.
state's rules, to be honest. Because I mean, if somebody's trying to salt within Iowa or Wisconsin, we got far less guys in those states.
Mhm.
We got 1 or 2 crews in those states as of right now because we're just getting our feet underneath us there. The main place we're worried about is Minnesota. We got 20 crews running here, and that's where the bulk of our guys are. So that's the main threat is here. But like I said, I mean, the whole salting has died down a lot. But there was a full 2 years where that's all we dealt with, and it was a lot.
Yikes. Yeah, that's weird. And
It's crazy
so
what it is. It's wild. That's the thing.
so is there like an oversupply of electricians then? Or why is that? Right? Because I
Um,
know you're taking jobs from them, but in theory, if there was like not that many electricians out there, wouldn't there be like a ton of work to go around? Because you were saying like they made the test easier. Like, is there any reason to that?
yeah, I think the pass rate still for first time takers still like 40% to
Oh wow.
pass. It's a tough test. Um, yeah, I mean the trades are more important now than ever, and you can make more money now in the trades than ever. But and they'll always be needed. It'll be some of the last things taken over by AI and
Hmm.
robots and all that stuff. So I mean, I can advocate for people to go into that enough. But I guess I don't know why there's too much work. I think the union shops take in most of the guys because they offer such a great deal to them. Whether it's union savings or I don't think they do signing bonus, but there's a lot of different incentives for people to sign off with the union. Or when they get laid off, they sit on the bench, but they still get paid monthly for sitting on the bench. Um, and I don't know if there's not enough work to go around. I just think that yeah, there's a lot of contractors and unions going around for this work. So I couldn't speak to why the bench is so big.
Hmm.
I think a lot of it had to do with COVID at the time. COVID put a lot of people out of work.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, does that affect union pay at all? Like when people were getting stimulus checks, did the union kind of decide to kick out more money or?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I guess you're probably not plugged into that as
I
much.
try to stay. I try to know what I need to know, and that's it
Yeah.
with them. But yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to join the union. Um, the union isn't bad. I'm not saying the union's bad. You can have a full career at the union and be just fine and reap amazing benefits. So it's still a good route to go. We're just private,
Hmm.
you know. But most people will go the union route.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it sounds like for you the private versus union thing is more so about control of your company more so than like anything it has to do with the actual employees.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, we want to control the company. I mean, we've helped. Nobody wants to give control up of something that they've built, right? I mean, and as we do more and more and we get bigger and bigger, our company's only getting stronger and stronger with
Hmm.
what we can offer um, to our employees. So yeah, we like the private aspect. We can do things being a private company that we wouldn't be able to as a union company, such as higher pay, or there's a abundance of issues with being overturned. So we like the private aspect
Yeah.
for sure.
And then do you guys do anything like employee stock or anything like that?
So not quite yet. Our plan is to be a public company in the next 5 years, which is really cool. Hopefully less, but that's the goal down the road is 5 years be a fully public company.
Can you say what your guys' annual like revenue is?
I can speak on what we've done in the past.
Okay.
I mean, so when I first started there, we were sub million,
Hmm.
and then we bumped up to I think like 5 million, and then it was like 12, and then it was like 36, and then it was like 60. We're doing well, but the banks even say we can't believe that you guys are doing this. I mean, we're exponentially getting bigger and bigger, which isn't easy. I mean, it's not easy for a company to
Yeah.
grow, maintain, and still receive the good revenue that we did. But every dime that we make goes right back into the company.
Hmm.
Justin, Luca, and Vlad are completely unselfish, and they have so much pride and belief in this thing that that they're gonna put it right back into the company. I mean, the owners were giving themselves $18 an hour up to a year, two ago. So, but the revenue has doubled almost every single year.
Yeah.
The economy nowadays, especially this year, has been extremely tough with the APR rates, which makes it doesn't give the customer as big of an incentive to buy. With the rates being so high. So I will say that this year we have done, I wouldn't say less, we've done about the same as last year. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, that is truly amazing and that we have won this year because the amount of companies that are closing down, shutting their doors, and getting rid of their employees because they have to, because they can't make sales, is abundant. I mean, people are going out of business across the nation due to the skyrocketed APR rates.
Yeah, it's kind of like real estate now.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're going through the same thing.
So what's the APR on like solar now?
So this is the part of sales that I don't want to misspeak on.
Okay. Do you have like a range, like a typical?
I don't want to misspeak.
Okay.
So I know everything about it but the sales pitch. And I'm getting more in tune to sales too because right now, that's our biggest downfall right now is just getting more and more sales each month, right? So the Justin and Vlad and Luca, they've been working really, really closely, fine-tuning and motivating and getting this sales team the best that they can be. I've been kind of being more involved with that with the last couple of weeks too because if you don't get the sales, you're not going to have the guys installing it, right? So I've been trying to learn more and get more in tune with that stuff as well. But when it comes to actual numbers, percentages, digits, I don't want to say anything just because it's I don't know it, but I can tell you that it's high right now.
Yeah. I was just curious how that relates to like auto payment, house payment, credit card.
Yeah.
Like, is it way higher than a house, or is it like kind of in between a credit card and a house? Like, just in my mind, I'm just curious how that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Okay.
But it's pushed off customers because I mean solar is it's not a necessity. It isn't a necessity to live. But there's a lot of incentives to get it. But right now, when people are paying so much money for food and gas and all that, it seems a little less of a priority, right? But in the grand scheme of things, it is a priority because, Minnesota as a state's trying to go green by 2040, right? Which means that we're going to try and do everything renewable, which is going to skyrocket utility prices. And this is happening in, I think, Connecticut right now. It's happening all over. And they're having massive utility spikes on their bills.
To like de-incentivize people from.
Basically, well, it means that people are becoming more self-reliant on their utilities because they have the power of the sun. So now they don't depend on these government-mandated utilities for power, and they don't need to pay them anymore. So because they're losing customer bases due to people getting solar and going renewable, they have to upcharge their prices. So now the people that don't have solar, that are still with these utilities, their bills are getting spiked up, and they're locked in, and they can't do anything about it because where else are you going to get power? Everybody needs power across the world. You need it. There's nothing you can't do without it. So these people are forced to pay these utility bills. So what's kind of happening right now is people are buying solar because whatever the utility bill is, once they get solar, they're locked in at that number. They can't skyrocket for them anymore. So people are like, okay, well, this is happening in Connecticut or wherever else it's happening in the world. There's only like 5 or 6 states or cities, major cities trying to do this, but it's going to be a wave of it. Minnesota being one of them.
Yeah.
So people are trying to get solar now to lock in the utility bill before it starts spiking 12, 17, 29% each year. So that's the main incentive. People are forecasting the future, locking in their numbers now.
So are you saying like, will solar get more expensive as well, like as time goes on?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It all comes down to financing, and the APR rates, which is another area that I don't know too much about,
Could that also be something where as like, sorry for cutting you off too, but as solar becomes more and more valuable in that sense, like you could charge more for it?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what kind of panels you're getting, what kind of financing you're doing. It all comes down to what kind of package that you can offer a customer, So that's what it kind of comes down to. And we like to offer the best panels that you can. Like we just 6 months ago signed a major deal with SunPower, which SunPower is a national conglomerate. They sell the #1 rated panel in the country. It's more expensive, but it's the best on the market. So it's things like that that'll change and quiver
Okay.
the amount that these customers are going to pay. When we first started, I mean, we would offer an abundance of different packages that we could sell them, whether it's the micro inverter. So each panel comes with the actual glass panel, and then underneath is a micro inverter, and that takes the energy from the panel has accumulated and sends it back down the string all the way down to the main box, which is connected to your main service panel or your meter. And that's basically how it harnesses the power. And if you have enough solar panels on your house, you can actually power your entire house and then have additional energy afterwards, and you can sell that back to the government. And that's what a lot of customers do. A lot of customers just do a system that'll, reduce their bill or completely cover their bill. But there's jobs that we've done, many of them, that it covers their entire bill, plus they have extra energy at the end, and they sell it back and make money off of it. So it's there's a lot of different ways you can go about it, and I think the incentives will always be there. It's just, do you know enough about each incentive as a customer, and which route do you want to go with it?
So what's like the biggest benefit to solar? Is it like kind of locking in that lower utility bill, or is there something else to it?
Yeah, I mean, you become energy independent. That's a big one. I mean, especially nowadays, that's important because the prices are going to keep rising, just like everything else. And if more and more people are going to keep going energy independent, then that's going to keep bumping up for the people that aren't, the utility bills. So I would say that's number one. You know, other than that, it's all about saving money. I mean, it increases the price of your home. That's another big one. But it's more about being independent. Yeah.
Okay. What's something about solar that you feel like the average person doesn't really know?
Something about solar. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I just talked
Yeah.
about, most people don't know that stuff,
Yeah.
and I still go into the office and I learn more and more every day. And a lot of that I learn from is, the sales pitch that our people are given to the customer. This is why it's great. This is why. But it's a hard topic, especially for, there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of technical details that go into it. Yeah, I guess just a full understanding of how it works and how it can benefit you is what isn't understood. A lot of people that will call, they have no idea. They think that it's, kind of a sham, because a lot of solar companies have a bad reputation. There's a lot of companies that came through, made all these deals, sold systems, and that never installed it, and they all go out of business. So a lot of people, there's a bad reputation going around in solar. We try to combat that. So something that we did is, like, a lot of companies around us that go out of business, and the customers are left there stranded, screwed, sitting, whether they're going to sue or not sue, either way, that's a year down the road. So right now they're sitting with a sold system that isn't fully connected or complete. We'll go around and we'll finish installing all those systems and build a contract and get all those done. So that's something that we've done in the past, which feels really good. Because a lot of these companies come in, they grow so extremely fast and they can't keep up with themselves. And now all of a sudden their bankroll's low and they are forced to go out of business.
So how do you pick up those customers? Is that like, are you buying data off of them, or is it just like they're out and about because like that company shut down?
The company shut down, so their system isn't even active. So they're sitting there desperate, they just spent tens of thousands of dollars on this system and they didn't get a complete product. So now the whole point is, what you want to do is you want to buy the solar, and then after the solar installation is complete and you go through your witness test with the utility, basically that's where they hook it all up together and say, you guys are good to go. You're now, your solar panels are active. What will happen is these customers will, instead of paying for their utility, they'll pay off their solar installation with a bill. So the solar will cover their utility bill, but then they're starting to pay for their system instead. So once their system's paid off, now they don't have a bill at all. So these people that paid for it and then didn't get their system installed, they're just dead in the water. So we'll get contracts from the company that either went out of business, or we'll pick it up on our own for those customers that need to be salvaged. Yeah. There's some bad eggs in the world of solar. There really is. And we do everything in our power to, maintain that good reputation, do everything we can for the customer.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you guys have pretty decent brand recognition. At least like I live off of 35, so like I see your sign all the time.
Yeah, how cool is that, man?
Yeah.
That is it makes me laugh and just smile because from where we came from to where we are now,
Hmm.
I mean, the success is unheard of. I mean, I've never experienced anything like this. I mean, obviously I'm young, but I've never seen or heard of anything like this. The amount of growth and stability that we've maintained and worked through and all these different triumphs that we've gone through, it's amazing. So this year, we actually, as of January 8th, 2024, signed a deal for the digital marketing. So we got like, I can't remember how many electronic signs we're on. It's like 200 across the state.
Wow.
Maybe it's less, but it's a lot, and
That's a lot. That's tons.
it's running year round. So I take the same road home, and every time I see the big Wolf River
Hmm.
sign, I pump my fist in there. I'm like, oh man, that is the coolest damn thing in the world to me, and to everybody else. I mean, marketing is so marketing is what makes a business.
Hmm.
And for some reason, the digital world that we live in, it's the most expensive part. You know, besides paying your employees, it's marketing. Marketing is so incredibly expensive when all they gotta do is take your market and hit a button, and then it's
Hmm.
going active. But it's just so much money because everybody needs to do it.
Yeah.
So those big signs are a big deal. And a new marketing campaign that we were really excited about, and it's done well. A lot of people have
Mhm.
seen it. And then we also started doing not KQRS. What is that morning talk show? Ah, man, I'm blanking on it.
KDWB.
No, it's the sports station.
Uh,
Ah,
I don't know any radio stations.
man, that's gonna bug me. It'll come back to me. But we're on this radio show that talks a lot about um, Minnesota sports. It's like the highest listened to radio that the state offers. Man, this is gonna bug me. I'll think of it and I'll bring it back up. But every single morning, they give a shout out to Wolf River Electric. You know, give talk about the deals that we do and the solar installations and the reviews that we have. And that's another form of marketing that we're doing as well, which is the amount of people. You don't think people still listen to radio, and people
Yeah.
do, man. It's crazy. So
So have you guys seen like business come from that already? Because that's only like month and a half away from now.
it's a little premature to tell,
Okay.
but we think it 100% will.
Yeah. Because
But I don't have any data or analytics on it. It is too soon to tell. But I just had KFan.
okay.
KFan Radio. Yep, that's it. So every morning, KFan will give us a shout out. I think every time the Timberwolves win, they give us a shout out. It's really cool. I wish I had the demo so I could
Yeah.
play it, but man, it's good stuff.
Huh. So is that something we're like going into that? Is there any like nervousness? Like we're gonna spend $1 million this year on marketing, and like is that gonna hit? Are we gonna make that back? Or are we just on billboards just for fun?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different avenues of marketing, but I think the visual and the audio, like
Mhm.
the basics of marketing, I think it's a good thing no matter how you do it. You know, it'll bring recognition to your logo, to your name. Whether people are going to buy a system or not, at least they'll know that Wolf River Electric is a big staple within the community of Minnesota.
Mhm.
And that's what we want ultimately. You know, obviously we want it to generate leads and to generate sales, but we want people to think in the Midwest, when you think of solar, you think of Wolf River Electric. You know, and that's super important. And we want to be that conglomerate. We want to be that monster in the Midwest that you think of solar, you think of Wolf River Electric. And with how fast that we've grown and the success that we've seen and the happy customers that we have, we think it's completely doable.
Mhm.
I mean, just 3-4 years ago, we were only in Minnesota with 2 crews. You know, now we're all over 5. Second biggest solar company in the Midwest in terms of buying materials and installing, and I believe we're number 1 in Minnesota. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, a lot of growth.
Yeah.
Well, I also feel like too, you guys have such a good reputation with people that like the billboard just kind of helps like spread that more. Like maybe if you weren't well known and you just had the billboard, so that maybe doesn't
Right.
do as much. But just kind of curious as to like what your guys' like thought is going into that, because that is probably like, you probably weren't really doing anything like that before. Now if you're gonna pick up all of a sudden 200 billboards, that's a big like
Right.
going from 0 to 200.
Yeah. So it's a big deal. I mean, obviously nowadays Google reviews are more important than ever. So right now I think we're at like 550 or something Google
Wow.
reviews. Um, and we're bubbling like 4.8 to 4.9. I think we're at 4.9 stars right now. Which, if you look up your favorite restaurant, if you look up Disney World, they're not even at 4.8. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a hard thing. Granted, they have much more reviews coming in, but it's just an example. Like, it is hard to maintain 5 stars, let alone, 4.8, 4.9.
Yeah.
So we're extremely proud of that. And we have put more focus than we ever have on customer relations. Whether it was a good experience or a bad experience, we're going to dig in and find out, okay, what did we do that was good, that impressed you? Why are you referring us to other people? We want those data points to understand this is something that we're doing that's fantastic. Or if there is something that went awry and, the customer isn't too ecstatic about the situation, we'll fix the situation first and foremost. But then we'll dig in and find out, okay, what could we have done better? What do you guys think? Because we care. We want to have nothing but the best reputation and the best customer experience, because that's what we're in this for. It's for the customer. It's a product for the customer. And this is a big deal for the customer. They're spending tens of thousands of dollars. This is something that they, maybe want to pass on to their children, or something that they feel super strongly about. Nonetheless, it's just expensive. They deserve nothing but a flawless process, and they deserve nothing but a fantastic experience and product. So that's why we're in it. So we've been, the last couple of years, delving more and more into that. We have a customer success manager that we hired. His name's Luke Johnson. He's fantastic. So, as long as we maintain those relationships and keep improving upon ourselves, that name brand will continue to grow and get better and better. And then that's the reason we have the marketing. So,
yeah. And people will just see that from the billboards. Like, I feel like I had the name in my head before I even got connected to you, just because I saw the billboard every day.
Yep.
Like, Wolf River, like, it's there. I don't know what it is. I have no interaction with the business, but like, that name's in my head.
Mm-hmm. And that's the whole idea. I mean, we want people to think Wolf River when going solar. And we're not just a solar company. I mean, that's our bread and butter. That's what 90% of our, but I mean, we are a full electrical contractor. But solar is what we do and what we do best. And, it's a rising thing in the industry, and it's only going to keep getting bigger and bigger. And we want to be that staple that can provide.
So you guys going to stay solar, or would you like ever do something like electric vehicles, or like really just branch out from there?
We don't do electrical vehicles, but we do electrical vehicle charging stations. Okay. We provide batteries. Basically anything that can be charged upon from solar, we'll offer to the customers. Yeah. And we're trying to sign a deal with the Minnesota Vikings, which is awesome. That'd be, a fantastic deal. I don't want to say too much about it because it hasn't gone through yet. But we're trying to pair up with the Minnesota Vikings, the Minnesota Wild, and the Minnesota Twins as well. So none of it's set in stone, but it's in the talks, and it's that could be another major thing too. And kind of what we would offer is, we'll do a solar system for you, whether it's a practice stadium or whatever it is, or, maybe the next year we'll do electrical vehicle charging for your players. So that's the type of stuff that we are able to do. And the batteries are super important and becoming more and more popular, because if there ever is a grid outage where nobody can get electricity, people can buy batteries that they put on the side of their house, and you can buy, 3 to 5 of them, and they last a good amount of time, depending on which one you get. And the power from your solar system will charge in these batteries. So if the grid ever does go out, you flip on the batteries, and now you have full power. So, I mean, it doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, it's good to have, or if something devastating, God forbid, ever did happen, I mean, you got energy you can use.
So how often would something like that happen?
Not often. I mean, obviously there's car wrecks where cars run into, the transformer and everything goes down for a little bit, but obviously not happen, but people being prepared for their family is super important, obviously. So to have the means to get by if something did happen, I think that's more or less what people purchase them for.
No, it's interesting. I mean, I kind of like the sound of that, just having like an extra like little bank for electricity.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And they didn't used to be as popular, but they are gaining speed, it's really cool.
So are there other applications for solar other than like I don't know, because like a lot of it goes into like, you know, powering your house, powering cars and stuff like that. Is there any other like they're testing out this in solar? Like, what's the newest,
Um,
coolest?
I know I did see talks about solar panel window panes, which are completely see through. I saw something about that. I know Tesla's trying to do the solar uh, shingles, solar
Okay.
panel shingles, which is basically your house is built without the normal sheetrock or not sheetrock, but normal roof shingles, and they're built with little solar panel shingles.
Hmm.
He was super excited about that, but Tesla has not seen the success that they wanted to with that endeavor. I was just looking that up the other day. Um,
That'd be a lot of panels.
it's I mean, it's crazy because they're actually just little square shingles that connect all together. So I mean, they have the durability of a roof, but also provide solar all year round. Um, I don't necessarily know the insane incentives of that over just getting a normal solar system, but I know that it's different and people like different. But Tesla's not seen the success that they wanted to with that whole endeavor.
Just in terms of sales or just with development?
Sales. I
Or,
mean, we partnered with Tesla for a while. We were installing Tesla systems throughout Minnesota here. One of the first people that were ever contracted with Tesla to install. So that was cool.
that's cool. Yeah.
Not my favorite people to work with. Um, you know, it's they got a lot going on over there. I think manufacturing isn't as high as it needs to be. Um, but you know, they're doing the EV vehicles and now they're doing solar. Um, but they're not based here in Minnesota at all. So in my eyes, it's hard if you were based across the country and you got a customer over here in Little Minnesota. Do you really care about that customer? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I wouldn't say that they were interesting to deal with
Yeah. Well, we're probably a smaller market for Tesla.
for sure. Yeah, because a lot of people think that oh we get snow here, so what's the point of getting solar panels? Well, solar panels can actually still produce through snow.
Hmm.
And a big misconception is that solar panels will melt the snow off of the panel, off of the panel. Not true. I mean, if you got solar panels that are at a high degree angle, then yeah, it'll melt off. But if you got a normal roof where they're sitting pretty flat, the solar panels will not produce heat to take it off. But year round, it's still worth it to get, especially in the summer, spring, fall, and even in the winter. I mean, look at the winter we're having right now. It
Hmm.
snowed twice. It's
Yeah.
50 damn degrees out right now, which is awesome for me and everybody in the field and Wolf River Electric in the whole
Hmm.
because we're one of the few installers that install through the winter. So this is the nicest winter ever. I'll just say that. The last few winters have been a little more painstaking
A little meaner.
because our guys are working on the roof. They're installing massive solar panels throughout the entire winter with high winds. It's just not as easy. And props to the guys because they kill it.
Mm.
And we make a promise to our guys. We will never lay you off. You know, we don't want to lay anybody off. And a lot of companies in the fall or in the winter will lay off their employees because there's just not as much work. And we try to make a promise to the guys we'll never lay you off, and we keep them working throughout the winter safely. We got all the safe precautions that we can. I promise you, we're not just throwing them out there like they could. We extend how long it takes to get a job done. We give them all the safety equipment. We have meetings prior to everything. It's all done correctly, but it's still dangerous. It's still hard on the body. But not this winter. This
Yeah.
winter has been something else, man. It's been 40, 50 degrees for 3 weeks
That's
straight.
so nice. I think one day it's supposed to be like a high of 60, like next Monday or something.
That's what I heard. Yeah. So, instead of our guys freezing with their winter jackets on, they're gonna be peeling off layers, sweating, So
Swimming after their day off.
seriously. But that's something we take pride in too, being one of the only people that install throughout the winter.
Hmm.
Um and another thing that we do also is you don't necessarily need the solar panels on your roof too. We do these things called ground mounts. Basically you auger in these poles into the ground and then you set up like this racking system and you can lay the panels flush across that.
Hmm.
A lot of rural areas do that. Another thing that we, offer.
Do a lot of people put that on like barns at all?
We we have done barns. barns, I'll never forget the first barn install we did because a lot of the barns are curved. It's not like flat like a roof, but it's kind of curved. So that was a very interesting first install. But we have done, 10, 20, 30 barns. But a lot of those people do the ground mounts because you can kind of place it as long as you have open land. You can kind of place it wherever you please, as long as it is good with the permitting in the city. That's the most prominent route people go.
Okay. I was just curious, like with a roof that big, like is that something that people take advantage of? Like throw a lot of solar panels on, then like
Oh yeah,
sell a lot of electricity back.
yeah. I mean, we do commercial jobs too, but we've done major, whether it's a salvage yard or a farm that's got lots of different animals in it, but that's massive. One time this winter we did a barn that had 550 panels on it. Looked magnificent, and that customer is going to make more than he needs in the world, and he'll be able to sell some of it back too. But Minnesota and every state also has these things called red zones, which means the utility isn't able to. You can't put a solar system there. So that's something that kind of bites. So a lot of people want solar, but they live in a red zone, which means we can't install it. We'll never get the paperwork and the applications approved. So
is that like a city thing, or is that just like not enough sun?
It's more of a utility thing. It's not a sun thing. It's like a utility mandated thing. It comes down to the grid, what the grid can handle. So that's where the red zones kind of come in. So before we make the sale, obviously we got to make sure. There's a lot of paperwork with solar, man. You buy a solar system, you're not going to get that solar system actually installed till 3 to 6 months down the road, depending on the city you live in, depending on the utility or the municipal that you're dealing with. There's a lot of people you got to get agreements on. There's a lot of people you got to sign contract, get plans approved. It's not a super quick process.
So 3 to 6 months of just like pulling permits, working with people, kind of figuring out like, all right, this falls within like city municipality laws and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
That's a long process for all that.
And our project managers work extremely hard. They're very diligent because, we want to get that customer installed as soon as possible. We push our project managers extremely hard. Great group of people, and they work really hard and they do really good. But yeah, they got to get the building permit, electrical permit. They got to get the interconnection application approved and signed off by the utility, whether it's Excel or whatever municipal that you're in. Especially in the rural areas, sometimes it takes time because we install all the time in areas that this is the first solar system that they've seen. Yeah. So still a new thing, man.
Yeah. Wow. I guess I just never really would have thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Because I guess you probably just go hour north, like, because I guess you guys are up there in Isani, right? So it's like, it's probably a lot of areas near there that haven't had solar.
Yeah. And go even 2 hours north. I mean, we've gone all the way up to the Canadian border. We cover all of Minnesota. Some of the places that our guys have seen to install is pretty intense. And sometimes these small little towns, they'll write like a little newspaper article about us, and it's super funny. It's awesome.
Huh. Go to like a town of 50 and like
right.
It's like the biggest thing there.
There's still jobs that we install every week that I look at the city name. I'm like, wow, I haven't heard of that one yet.
Wow.
We're installing 1,100, I think, systems last year. I mean, we're doing. And to see cities still that you've never seen it blows my mind. I'm like, wow.
Well, like, where does most of your business come from? Do you kind of know that?
Do you mean in terms of?
Just like, do you sell like 600 systems in Minneapolis, like 400 to St. Paul, and 100 here, or is it?
So we actually we're super excited about this. We just got a new marketing guy. His name's Jason. He's awesome. He's been here for a couple months now. And he's really taken our marketing efforts and our data within marketing to a whole nother level. And he sat me down. We were talking the other day about what he wants to kind of do. And what he wants to do is take a full map of the United States and pinpoint every single system that we have installed with a geo tracker. So you just click on it and it'll pop up all of our installation pictures. Kind of what all the information of that, what the system's doing for the customer. So we'll be able to see all the different areas by down to the each customer on where we've installed.
Wow, that'll be a lot because you guys probably installed 3,000 or more at this point.
I was just talking about the numbers the other day. I mean, we've installed much more than 3,000 systems.
Oh, wow.
It's a massive amount. I don't want to throw a wrong number out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're doing 1,000, 1,100 a year.
So like probably closer to 10.
I'd say closer to 10. But he's got this really cool data mechanism that he's able to like pull data from our current platform that we use that has a lot of our customers on it and shoot it into an Excel spreadsheet that'll kind of idle its way through it. It's still going to be a painstaking amount of work.
It's gonna take forever.
But he's got a really nifty, cool process on how he can do it. So we're expecting that to be done, and that'll be a cool feature that nobody's really using. And that's something we want our customers to see, you know. So it'll be a good exposure to what we've done and what we can do.
So for people getting solar, do you know if the insurance coverage is like similar to regular shingles?
So I don't necessarily know that, but I'll say that Wolf River Electric, we also have another entity called Wolf River Construction, where in the last year we started doing roofs, windows, sidings, gutters. So we'll take customers prior to installing their solar, and we'll make sure that their roof is good for the solar to be installed. Because a lot of people would be like, well, actually, I need to get my roof replaced before I put the solar up. Which, if you don't, you're perfectly fine. Because we do these things called R&Rs all the time. It's remove and replace. Basically, you take the whole system down. A roofing company will come out, fix the roof, and we go back out and put it all back up. So it's no harm, no foul. But a lot of customers want to get their roof done prior so they don't have to deal with that hassle. And with Wolf River Construction, you know, we're able to go out there and make sure that their roof is sound and good to go. And we'll make sure the insurance covers it, and we'll do the work ourselves. But that's the new endeavor that we've been doing. So that's really cool, too.
So is that something you guys might kind of want to keep doing? Like, because it sounds like kind of bread and butter is installing the solar, but then you do have that other like, okay, well, someone's got to put the roof on. So you kind of like started doing that.
Yep.
You know, is there other areas where you're like, okay, we can swallow an insurance company so that they can insure us, or, you know, whatever?
We're looking into, we've built houses in the past down in Mankato. We want to move to more of a local area. So that's another endeavor we're looking into is home building, you know, potentially smart neighborhoods. I don't want to speak too much on it, but that's something else. I mean, I think we want to stay in the realm of construction.
Okay.
You know, but
So
you never know, man. I mean, with how things move and how eager and the ownership is, I mean, if they see something that's enticing or could be fruitful, you know, I wouldn't. They won't bat an eye, you know.
So would you guys build a home, like put solar panels on it, like, and then list on the market, or is that kind of?
No, that's something that I don't think happens a lot, and something that is definitely on the table, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, affordable, renewable housing or renewable neighborhoods is for anybody to buy. You know, we want to make it moderate, so it's not something crazy. But yeah, I wouldn't say that's off the table.
Yeah, I think something like that would be pretty cool. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like when I look at a lot of new construction, I feel like a lot of it's similar. And so just seeing something like, oh, wow, solar panels.
The cookie cutter houses, oh, man.
Yeah. But not even that. Like, even people that have custom homes, like, it's because, like, the average person wants to see, like, only 6 different floor plans or something like that. You know, like, they don't want to see a super custom house because, like, only a small portion of the population is going to think that's interesting. So, I mean, I think that's a tough thing, but I don't know if it's profitable. But I always thought, like, I think it'd be cool if builders would do, like, a super custom, like, unique house and then just list that.
Yeah. No, I think so, too. Because I know when I would buy a home, I want it to be somewhat. I don't want the cookie cutter either. Something I really want is a conversation pit. Does anybody ever bring up conversation pits to you?
Are those what? They're kind of like the older things where it's like the floor sunken in.
Yeah, it's like a big 70s deal. I think they stopped doing it because people were falling in and hurting themselves. But man, I think those are the coolest things.
Yeah, I don't even know if I've like really seen one of those in a house.
I haven't.
Maybe
I haven't.
One, but
I see photos of them from back in the day. I'm like, that'd be one badass thing to have in your home. But
so what do you do?
Until you have kids.
Yeah. Well, How deep are they? I mean, is it just like
I think it's just a couple stairs deep,
okay?
but I think they look cool. I think it's a
Yeah.
cool idea.
Then do you like what line the walls with like pillows or something? So it's kind of like a couch.
It's like a big couch, or like you put tables in the middle, or maybe a TV at the end of it, something like that.
Yeah, that could be cool. You could do a bunch of different things.
Right.
Have like a completely sunken like living room, like put it on second floor, then just have it like looking up.
Yeah.
Then put probably bars around so people don't just fall straight
Fall
into your
straight
living
in.
room. Yeah.
For sure. But no, I see all these new neighborhoods going up, and the houses, there's that much yard on the side, and yeah, every house is the same, just a different color. Is that something that's just gonna keep happening, or what?
Well, it's interesting. So if you like look at kind of the way things are moving, it looks like we're probably going to move to like more and more people renting just as house prices go up.
Sadly.
And then yeah, like
BlackRock.
yeah, that too. Like they're predicted to own like 40% of all single family
Saw
homes
that.
in like 10 years.
Saw that.
And so that's going to like destroy a lot of affordability there. They're going to buy a lot of the single family homes, and I feel like they're going to buy a lot of the smaller ones because you're not going to rent a $700,000
Right.
home. You're going to rent a 250 home.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those affordable homes get eaten up, and then you just can't afford a home anymore. So then you have to rent.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the money in the future is probably in
Plus,
like
you don't
apartment
own
buildings.
the land, which is why people buy these houses. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously, you want your own house, but you own the land beneath it too.
Mm.
Can't do that when you're renting, and I think that's a checkmate that some of these big companies are trying to do, which is super sad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but a little bit in the worlds of realty and what some of these companies are doing. 100%.
Oh, I've heard that there's a bill getting passed to try to stop that because it's like it won't stop necessarily. Like, why would they stop? Because they're going to make
There's
so much
nothing
money
that
off
can
of it.
stop them. I mean, they're going to just keep getting bigger and
Mhm.
bigger and consume more and more. That what is going to stop them? There's nothing
Yeah.
to.
And they'll
know?
never sell a house like that to someone like you and me. They only sell it to other funds, and
Yeah.
they sell like 10,000 at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's power hungry.
Mhm.
Power hungry.
Yeah. So that's something where, 4 years ago you could have bought a house for 150,000, 200,000,
Yeah.
and now that house is 250 or more.
Yeah.
And then 5 years from now it's going to be 300, and then 5 years from there it's going to be even more, even more, even more.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know, you have to find a way to either make a lot more money or try to buy something as soon as you can and like lock in a good rate. Because
Yeah.
I've also seen people break up like middle class based on when you bought a house. Because if you have a $300,000 house at 3% interest, that's like $2,000 a month, or probably less than that. That could be way wrong. But now if you buy that same house, it's going to be like $1,000 a month cheaper or more expensive. So then it's like, well, that greatly affects what you can do each month. I mean, $1,000 a month, 12 grand a year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge chunk of people's paychecks.
Right. Well, it blows my mind too because 10 years ago, $400,000 house is pretty luxury.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Nowadays, you're buying $350,000, $400,000 homes that are fixer uppers. It's tough, man.
Yeah.
It's it's a weird time we're living in.
Mhm.
I always say that because it is weird. It seems like, or maybe we're just adult enough to start realizing it. But it seems like things are changing and changing quickly, and it's not necessarily always in the favor of the common folk.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I was talking with someone, she's 79. She's like, yeah, it's been weirder recently. I think it's probably always weird, but just maybe
COVID didn't
more.
help.
Yeah.
That was that was the time. I'll tell you that
That
for
was
everyone.
strange.
I mean, yeah,
We all just stayed at home for months and didn't leave. And I mean, we're kind of like past it, at least a couple of years past it now, where it's like looking back, it's like, wow, that was weird,
Yeah.
because like, but when you're in it, you have no idea what's going on, and it's just like,
I can't believe it was 3 years ago. It seems like every year it's just gone by exponentially faster since COVID,
it
which
started
is
at the
weird.
end of 2019.
Yeah, it's a 4, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's even more mind-boggling.
I mean, I think around this time 4 years ago is when stuff was starting to get shut down.
Yeah.
So like, I was in college at the time, and like, we went away on spring break, and then the week after they're like, yeah, classes are going to be canceled for another week. You're like, oh, cool. And then towards the end of that
Yeah.
week, they're like, yeah, you can't come back.
Yeah, it's like,
It's like,
damn.
oh, wow.
Yeah, I was. I actually just got back from California. I went out there to do some acting, and I was out there for a week, just doing auditioning for this thing that I went to, this big convention. Super excited. I've never done anything like that. but I came back with some promising leads and some good connections. And then COVID hit.
Mm.
So that's what I was doing at that time. And then it's never been the same since. But crazy, everything stopped.
So were you
Everything.
with Wolf River at the time?
I was. Yeah, this was really early stages. Where I was still, me and Luka Bozic were still doing physical installs. I think at the time that I actually left to go to California, we were changing out all the light bulbs in this nursing home in Edina. And then, all the owners were super big advocates of me doing it. They're like, go take the time, see what you can do out there. So I went out there, and I came back, and then it was COVID. So all those promising leads and whatever could have been, kind of got diminished with the widespread that was COVID. But Wolf River didn't stop. We didn't take any time off. We were still working. Whether we were doing installs overnights because nobody's around for exposure, and we with our own crews, obviously we wear the masks and stuff like that. But then also quickly after we started doing the solar's all outside, so we didn't really stop. So we stayed busy through COVID, I'll say that. But still a weird time for everyone around us.
So how do you get into acting? Like, I would assume you probably didn't do like theater or anything like that in high school. So how do you just kind of...
Me and my family are absolutely infatuated with cinema and just movies and film. It's just a passion that's been ours. I think acting's awesome. I don't know much about it. I need to dedicate more time to it, but I don't have any time. But I think acting's a really, really cool thing. My little brother, Josh, he's a screenplay writer, wants to be a director. He has 10 full feature-length screenplays now, So we're all just super into it. We all come up with the ideas of what we could do, and we come up with, we all download music that would be great for this scene. This would be a great song for a scene. We've just always been super into it. So I tried it out. I actually got on one TV show. I had to go down to Dallas. It was called Surviving the Cartel. I promise you nobody's seen it. But it was a cool experience for me. I was in it for 2-3 minutes, and it took 12 hours to film, and It was a wild experience. And that kind of, I just think it's a really cool thing. Yeah.
That's a really cool, like, anecdote to have, even if you don't go on to be the biggest actor in the world, it's at least something that, like, passing someone on the street, like, that's a good, like, subway story,
Right. No, yeah. And ever since I was a kid, for some reason, I just wanted to be on something and I was a child at the time. I just want to say the F word one time on TV and just, have that be a thing. So I got to scratch that off my bucket list so I can die happy now.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I was hearing this thing that said there's only like 26 movie plots and everything's just like a slight variation of that. What are your thoughts on that?
I can get behind that. But people get so creative about how they vary that one of the 26 that, I still see movies nowadays that blow my mind away, and I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Son of a bitch,
Yeah.
There's still movies that blow me away, but there's still a lot of replicas too. Replicas with variations. You see that all the time. Or the remakes. Oh man, the damn remakes nowadays.
So what's something that came out like in the last couple of years where you're like, wow, that's a good movie?
That's a tough one. Well, Oppenheimer, that was fantastic. I mean, Christopher Nolan's got his ways of how he does something, but there's something different about Oppenheimer. I really like that movie. Really like Interstellar. Oh, here's a good example. A24. That movie company, A24, have you ever heard of them?
I don't think maybe.
They've really blown up the last few years, and they make some of the most visually creative, some of the best written dialogue, some of the best written stories I've seen. And I'm not saying that all the movies are fantastic, but they're expertly creative. I mean, I don't know where they come up with this stuff. Whether the movie is good or not, you watch the whole thing. Yeah. Like, wow, that was something else,
What are some movies that they've done?
I think they did Midsummer. They did that one, which was one of their first ones that really blew people out of the water. I want to say they got their hands in a lot of stuff right now. Maybe Hereditary. That's another. They're in kind of like the spooky, scary
Okay.
I know they helped out Jonah Hill with mid '90s. Um, what else have they done? They've done a fair amount of projects. I can't think of too many off the top of my head, but everything that they do seems to be pretty damn good.
Yeah. When I went to watch Oppenheimer, I was like, this is a really good movie, but I'm not like a movie buff, so I felt like I could tell it was really good, and like
Yeah.
someone like you would appreciate it a lot more than me, and it kind of was like a weird feeling.
Hans Zimmer, man. Hans Zimmer,
Doesn't he do everything?
Hans Zimmer does the scores for movies. So the music in the background. Oh, he did Interstellar.
Isn't he like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, like all the old stuff too?
He's had his hand in a lot, and he is by far my favorite. I don't even know what to call him. Musician, composer,
I don't know.
musician. He is badass. So he did Oppenheimer, which I mean, you can have as cool of a scene as you want, but to make that thing perfect, you need the music behind it. You need to hear it, visualize it, feel it, and he just brings an aura to the films that he composes for that is untouched. I mean, Interstellar still is like my favorite soundtrack of all time. I'll just listen to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good stuff. So
He's got to be an older dude too, right?
he is. He
So
is.
I wonder when he's done. I wonder like his movies are gonna sound so much different because he's done so many.
Mm-hmm. He I hope he doesn't stop anytime soon. I mean, he brings an element to these films that are very, very special. But with Oppenheimer too, Christopher Nolan, he always brings like a darker tint to his movies too, where it's like a bluish, darker hue or film over the lens of the camera. So that's something that's a staple to him. But with how intense his movies are, like he did Batman, the Dark Knight. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like he has very intense movies with that blue film over it. I mean, that's kind of his staple, but that's just a whole nother unknown element to a lot of his stuff.
I guess I haven't even like noticed that because it's probably just very slight, right?
It's slight, yeah, but it's I promise you, rewatch it. It's
Yeah.
there.
Huh. So
Plus,
did he
sorry to cut you, but he also does no CGI, all practical effects.
really?
Yeah,
So for Oppenheimer with the bomb, they just
that was real detonation.
wow.
He did a movie called Tenet too, where he actually crashed the 747 Boeing airplane. He actually did that into a warehouse, like millions and millions of dollars just for the shot, just for the no CGI.
Wow.
So that's another really fantastic thing about him.
Are movies a profitable thing?
They can be. They can be. I mean, you always back in the day, box office flops used to be a much bigger deal because if you didn't make your money out at the opening box office, back in the day, you had to wait like a month until the movies came out on VCR or DVD, and then the sales would start generating again. But with every movie that comes out nowadays, I mean, HBO's got their hands on it, some streaming platforms got their hands on it, and their views just keep going and going and going. Sad because not a lot of people go to the actual movie theater anymore. So their money comes off of streams, marketing, endorsements. So, but it still happens.
Do you know if like payments for like the creators of that is any different? Like if you go stream it on Spotify versus like go buy the album, like that's a substantial difference to the artist there.
I don't know. I just remember when Apple Music was kind of just starting. Those artists hated it. They hated it, because people were doing the LimeWire, which would just they saw no gains from that. So I just think you got to move on with the times and whatever, it'll work its way out for you to still get your royalties and your money, but you got to go with the times.
Yeah.
The times are ever changing with this technology.
Well, it's interesting. Like I don't know what kind of music you listen to. I listen to a lot of rap, and so like those albums were a lot shorter 10 years ago versus now. Like now you get like 25, like 30 song albums.
Yeah.
That's because they want all of those to chart so they can get as many streams as possible so they can make more money. Versus like then it's like you want an album that you can play through well. So you do like 10 songs that are great.
Yeah. No, I love all types of music. I love classic rock. I truly love that. I just grew up with it, and my dad always played it. But I listen to a little bit of rap here and there. I'm more like old, early 2010s rap. I don't know. I don't keep up with the new stuff, but love Mac Miller. He's like my ultimate favorite.
Oh, me too.
Really?
I love so much Mac Miller. Yeah.
He's my, God rest his soul. He's like the only celebrity that's passed away and I cried about. So Mac Miller. I love Kanye West. he's got to watch his mouth once in a while, but
Yeah.
he makes good music. Always
Have you heard
has.
his new album?
Yeah, I actually just got back from Utah a couple days ago. Me and my boys were out there skiing,
Mm.
and Vultures was the album of the
Yeah.
trip. I think the song "Come Back to Me" was the song of the trip. I love it's very good. I
Yeah.
like it, and his albums always take a few listens to like get in tune with and to actually enjoy it.
Mhm.
Every single time, I have to listen like 2-3 times, and then I'm like, damn.
Yeah, the first time I listened to the album, I was like, I don't know. And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
like second and third time, I'm like,
Yeah.
I see what people are talking
Yeah,
about.
see, I do the same thing with all of them. Like The Life of Pablo, that was like a staple of my senior year in high school.
Hmm.
Took me like 2-3 times to get through that one to thoroughly enjoy too. So
I've been listening to that a lot lately.
so
Such a good album.
Yeah, it's a fantastic. Who else do I like? ASAP Rock is good. Kid Cudi, old Wiz Khalifa. Those are probably my favorite hip hop guys.
Have you heard any of Cudi's new stuff? Because he's done like Man on the Moon 3. He just did like a new
Yeah.
album, Insano or something like that.
I haven't heard that one yet. I know Man on the Moon 3 came out 2020, around there. 2020, I think. Maybe 2021. So it's been a while, but I didn't know he came out with a new album.
Mm-hmm.
No.
He also did. Have you seen Enter Galactic?
Isn't that the song?
He did. That's like the song on Man on the Moon 1, but then
Yeah.
he did animated show called Enter Galactic.
Oh, no. No, what I've been listening to, actually, he released an album of all his, like, streaming songs from, like, that were never in his official albums. And I forget what he doesn't call it Wizard or anything, like, but, like, the song, like, Love, Love, with the period at the end, that was never on any of his albums. But it's a fantastic song. Or, like, Down and Out. He basically released it just so you can listen to it on Apple Music and Spotify. And Mac Miller actually did the same thing with Faces.
Yeah.
So Faces is like my all-time favorite. That was 2014 mixtape.
I have that on vinyl.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that. That's my favorite album of all time. And back in the day in 2014, that was just released on like Hot New Hip Hop or something. It was just a mixtape. Man, oh man, good stuff. Good stuff.
Well, part of that was all the samples though, because he couldn't clear all of them.
Yeah.
Like Diablo still isn't cleared.
Really? See, I don't know that much when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
But he actually did add an additional song onto the Faces mixtape that he released on Apple Music. It's the very last one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that one. So damn good.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's got a lot more to release too.
Well, I heard that they're gonna release an album that he did with Madlib at some point this year. I think
I've heard that. I've just heard too much about
he's got
his
a lot
brother
of
and
music.
family releasing music, and I just haven't seen it yet. So obviously in due time, good things come in time. But
Yeah, I feel like they've done a really good job with his music though. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times when someone dies, they're just like, all right, shove it out, and it's
Yeah.
not great. But his stuff like Circles
Yeah.
is great. They put
Yep.
out Faces again. I Love Life, Thank You. Like all of his mixtapes and stuff
Yeah.
just get remastered.
well,
Kids came back out.
yeah, for sure, which is awesome. That's another one, the paper bag one. What was that album? The mixtape one.
Paper Bag.
Or the plastic bag one. You just said it. Whatever. I can't remember what it is.
Why
But
can't
yeah,
I think
they
of it?
were releasing a lot
Oh,
of his
I
mixtapes.
Love Life, Thank You.
I Love Life, Thank You. Yeah. But the most important one of that stuff is the Circles,
Mm-hmm.
because that was not even finished yet.
It was
And
pretty close.
It was
though.
close to finish, but they had to tie up some, and then they released it, which is really cool.
No, I love that. Do you have vinyls at all? Because you said you were thinking about.
I don't.
Okay.
I want to, because that's an awesome thing to have, but I haven't got into that realm yet.
Yeah, I started in, like maybe 2 years ago, and I've got like 30 now, 30 or 40. It's like really fun.
I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, like I got a player for like probably $40 or something on Facebook Marketplace,
Nice.
and then like if you like classic rock, you can just go probably find old stuff for like $4, $5.
Yeah, I've actually been to the Electric Fetus down in Minneapolis. That's a cool little store. And that thing's been around there forever. I'm pretty sure Bob Dylan used to go into there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
There's one called like Agartha or Agartha, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's in St. Paul, and I go to that one
okay.
because they have like this huge section that's like the size of this room, and it's just probably twice the size of this room actually, and it's just filled with like records. Like a whole wall is like dollar records, a whole wall is like $2 to $4 records,
nice.
and then another one is like $5 records.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that are into it. I'm more like, I probably wouldn't use it for the actual listening to music, or maybe I would, but like hanging them up on the wall or
Yeah.
something aesthetic with them. You know, I think that'd be great. That'd be the reason. But one of my buddies, Josh Brown, he beautiful artist. Now he's a tattoo artist, but he can paint and draw like nobody I've ever seen. And he's just started he started his painting career. So I called him up. I'm like, hey man, can you paint me the cover for Faces? And I paid him like $200, and he gave me this beautiful canvas of the cover of Faces, and I have it hung up on the wall. It looks like a vinyl, but it's not. And he did a fantastic job with it. And then I had a bunch of other buddies that hit him up and said, make me this album. So he kind of, it was really cool.
That is. Where does he tattoo at?
I don't even know. And the funny part is, I'm getting me and my brother Joe are getting a tattoo with him in 2 weeks. I just talked to him about it this week. So I'm gonna have to get the address. I don't know exactly who he tattoos for yet, but I trust him. I've known him my whole life, and I've seen his work, and he's fantastic. So shout out Josh Brown. Go get a tattoo from him.
Are you guys getting like the same tattoo, or what are you doing?
We're getting different Bible verses, just on the rib cage here.
That'll hurt.
Yeah. So I only have one tattoo I got in 2017. I was in college, and it was just funny, but it's tiny right above my knee, and I've always wanted more, just never done it. No, my brother's like, let's go, and I'm like, all right, let's just set it up and do it then, because
You wrote tiny above your knee, or you wrote tie above your knee?
No, it's a fish.
Oh, okay.
It's just tiny, like it's small.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought like you meant like you tattooed like a tie above your knee, so it's tiny.
No. It was Friday the 13th, and my buddy came up to me after a long night, and he said, let's go get tattoos. He's a big tattoo guy at the time. And he's like, it's Friday the 13th, they're $13. And I'm like, all right. So I went to grab my older brother who was living with me at the time, and we all went and got tattoos above our knee. Waited in line for like 7 hours.
Oh.
Crazy.
It's way longer than it spent to get the tattoo.
Yeah. Yep. But we were college guys that had nothing to do anyway, so
Might as well.
waste the day away for a small tattoo of a dead fish. Nothing better.
I saw someone who got a tattoo of a British dude above his knee for his sister Brittany. So it's like Brit on the knee.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would do it myself, but I like
Well, I
it.
thought that's where you're going with like the tie. When you just said tiny, I was like, oh.
Oh. No.
Yeah. Yeah,
Not
I
quite.
definitely. I've got one on my arm, and then I want to keep like getting a handful. Like I think I want to do probably elbow down at some point, and then like hip to knee.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Yeah, it's expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you just gotta go do it, or I'll push it off forever.
Yeah.
So
So you said just like right under your rib cage?
yeah, I don't know exactly. I think we're gonna make it like 6 to 8 inches long and just run it down like the side here.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just gonna do whatever my brother wants to do. I don't care that much, to be honest. So I'm waiting for him to finalize it, and then we'll go. But it's 2 weeks away, so
Oh, so you don't even know what you're getting. You're just kind of like, all right, let's.
Told
let's
him to
run
pick the
with it.
font, pick the size, pick the location. I'll get it.
So like you pick the verse, but everything else design wise is
Yes.
okay.
Yep. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that'll look cool.
Yeah.
Do you have plans to get more after that, or is that just kind of like? So what's the motivation for getting that now?
Well, I can do with my brother, and we both have we're both believers in Christ, and that's something that's super important to us and our family, and we both picked out a verse that's important to us, and something that reflects our life. And he doesn't have any tattoos, and it's just something I'd be cool to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do have a note. The notes in my phone, I got 15 tattoos I want to get in there, and I keep them all logged.
Yeah.
Like the one I've wanted the longest was the DreamWorks logo with the kid fishing on the moon. So that's the one I'll get that one before I die. That's number one on the list, but we'll see.
So why do you have so many ideas but you haven't gotten them yet?
Life's busy,
Yeah.
It's important to me, but not that important to me at the same time. People say like days go by slow, but weeks go by fast. And that's so true. You're always like, oh, I can do this next week. Well, it's 6 months later actually now. It's like, damn. Well, once you get in the routine of going to work, then going to the gym or do whatever extra hobbies that you have, your weeks go by like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got the weekends. And when you spend the weekends with friends and family, and like this weekend's gonna be beautiful, so you want to. There's always something to halt it, and it's like I'd rather go get an actual experience than sit down and get a tattoo, even though it's one day. But that's my mindset. I can push things off pretty easy, I guess.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I don't know. There's just something that I want to keep getting, but I also like want to keep coming up with like more complex ideas for it. Like some people, like if someone got like a tiger, like from like wrist all the way up to your shoulder, I'd be like, that's so much skin to cover
Yeah.
one tattoo. Where it's
Right.
just like I'd rather get a bunch of like kind of little ones and do patchwork.
Yeah. No, that's the route I would go to. Um, I think about that stuff all the time, but I don't think I'd get anything like super crazy. If I was to cover any portion of my body, probably be like my right calf, like below the knee to the ankle. I think that would look cool, but I don't think I'd ever get a full sleeve
I
or
feel like
anything like
legs
that.
are probably a good spot. Like if you want to get one, but then hide it.
Yeah. Right. Right. As long as you're not getting some up your neck or on your face,
Yeah.
it should be good nowadays. I think employers are a lot more lenient on the piercings and the tattoos nowadays as well. Um, my buddy he works in engineering, very prominent position, and he had a guy that just started there fresh out of college. He must have done extremely well, wowed the employer and got the position. Started. The guy comes in with the bull ring through his nostril.
Yeah.
And he's dressing in suits every day and, dealing with some high maintenance stuff. And they hired him with the major ring through the center of his nose. So that kind of wowed me a little bit.
Because 5 years ago, he would not have gotten
That's what I'm
hired.
saying. I mean, tattoos and piercings were so frowned upon throughout history that I think it's kind of diminishing a little bit.
I read something where like 1 in 6 or 1 in 10 people under the age of 30 have a tattoo or something like that.
Is it that low? Wow. Now, I feel like it'd be higher. I feel like you're probably right. Most of the people that I know have tattoos.
Yeah, maybe it's higher. Maybe it's like 30%.
That's still low to me. I swear everybody's got a damn tattoo nowadays, which is awesome.
But that's like 18 to 30 probably.
Oh,
So like I
okay.
feel like some 18-year-olds don't quite have tattoos.
Okay.
Like most people like 25 to 30 probably do.
Yeah, for sure. I'd probably say so too. But yeah, that's I like tattoos. Whatever. Do what you want.
Yeah. I like the art. I think it's cool that like you have to come up with artwork that you want for the rest of your life.
Right. I chose a dead fish.
Yeah. Is there any meaning, or was it just like I'm drunk, let me just get this fish?
It was. I was the only one to get it out of the whole day, so they had a preset amount of tattoos that you could pick from. It was like 4 or 5 pages. A lot of them were evil knife, Friday the 13th type shit, and there was one little dead fish that was green red, and the ribs were 13 in the ribs. And I was like, oh, give me that one. I was the only one to get it all day out of all 13 hours they were open, which I thought that was cool. But my brother got one right there too. His tattoo in a different fashion says 13, and then my other buddy got one as well that says 13. A little camaraderie, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I'll get one tattoo with each brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So you have 2 brothers?
I got 4 brothers
Oh, wow.
and a sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sister doesn't get a tattoo?
Not yet. She's in college. She can wait a little bit. She wants one though. She wants to get one, but once she graduates, we'll get one.
So where do you fall in birth order?
Second oldest.
Okay.
Yep. So I got an older brother, Jamie. He is 20. Hold on, he's 28.
Okay.
And then it's me, and then my brother Joe, and then underneath him is my brother Josh, and then it's my sister Caroline, and then my brother John, the youngest, who's a junior in high school.
So it goes from 28 to 16 or 17?
28 to 16.
Oh, he's 16. Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Good old Catholic family.
12 years of kids.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Because you've been out of the house for 8 years now, and then they still got one kid that's
Still
got
one
another
left
year
in
and a
there.
half left.
Well, 2 of my brothers joined the Air Force, so they got back from Qatar and they're still living there right now too. But they'll get out of there soon enough, and they'll be empty nesters.
Yeah. Wow.
So-
Same time they were in Qatar?
Yeah, they went together. So that was cool. They were out there for 6 months this summer, right before the Israeli conflict on all started. So they got out days before that really exploded,
wow.
which was really, really awesome that they made it out because there was talks about nobody leaving and stuff like that. And it's still ongoing now. So
Yeah. That's good timing.
Yeah.
For them, at least.
Thank God. Yeah. So.
Wow. Well, we could probably call it here. Hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Yeah.
Unless you have anything you want to keep talking about. Like, I'm fine to just keep shooting the shit, but...
No, that flew by. That
Okay.
was a fun time. It amazes me with these podcasts how
Yeah.
quickly they can go. and you don't even realize it. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously an hour and a half is a good amount of time, but didn't feel like an hour and a half.
Yeah. No, I've glanced over 3 times. I glanced, it was like 42 minutes. I glanced, it was like an hour, and now it's an hour and 40 minutes.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm good.
All right, cool.
You're good.
We can call that